Hello, my name is Megan. I am going to be answering a few questions I set for myself to evaluate how I think my Project 5 for Extended Diploma went. The first question is, do you have a time plan to help you not rush with the final product? I did, however, I made it on the second week, which made my whole project slightly delayed. I did have a goal that I had in mind prior to making the time plan, so the time plan is what I expected of myself for the project. Would you recommend someone to create a time plan to help with their time management? Yes, but do it at the beginning, because having have made it from week one, even though week one had already gone past, meant that I felt I was rushing anyways, and that there wasn't much point following the time plan because I was already behind, which meant that I pushed everything a bit forward and overall rushed in the end anyways. So if you're gonna do it, make sure you do it at the beginning and when you want to start the project. How do you think you did on your journals, keeping in mind that last term you were asked to cut down the length and number of journals? I have 5 weeks worth of journals, but instead of doing a journal for each class and each day, I decided to only make journals for the lectures that helped me with the project, which was what we were supposed to do all along. But since it was a smaller project, I decided that I needed to focus more on the researching different career paths that I wanted to do other than the journals. And during the classes, I made bullet points of what I wanted to add, but I made sure that I didn't do that for every lecture like I did before. So overall, I think the journals actually are really good for this term, and I did take the advice that Yoshida gave me. My last question for the planning section of this is, what would you have done differently when planning for this project? I would have, as I said earlier, made the time plan from week one and have followed it from week one. I think I also would have started with the primary research. I would have done interviews from the beginning to the end. I only got time to do one interview, and because it was so useful, I actually think I might, for next project, start early on with interviews to have more primary sources by the end of the project, which I do think I am lacking at the moment. So following that is the research, so I'm going to be analyzing the primary research first. The answers that I received from Paul, which is the guy I did the interview with, were actually really interesting, and he used a lot of his experiences, which was kind of what I was looking for. He also mentioned a few events that I should take part of to start my songwriting career now rather than later. Would you have liked to ask more questions? I think the amount of questions I asked for songwriting were really good and were detailed. I think for session work, because it was very merged together, because Paul isn't a singer, session work and songwriting work projects that he took part of were kind of merged together. So overall, yes, enough questions, but maybe I would have liked to have more session music specific questions that I would have had to thought deeper into and have had more time prior to the interview to plan them. What was the most helpful reply? He mentioned something about speed dating and songwriting, where you would be put into different rooms and someone would come in, bounce ideas for 10 minutes, and then you move on to the next group. And it's actually really interesting, and I was trying to find places to do that in, but I haven't found anything yet, but I will follow that up with him. I will try and find where he took part in that and who took part in that and how I should get involved. Did having this interview develop your work? Yes, definitely. It added a lot more depth to the songwriting part of things, because being only secondary research, it was mainly facts and not experiences, and how songwriting can get more difficult in a sense if you don't have first-hand experience on it. Overall, what went well and what could have gone better? I think I would have liked to add as primary research a few of my own experiences that I have worked with a few other students at ACM, with my songs, with songs for projects, with band work. So maybe adding a bit of my own experience would have added more depth to it as well, instead of just someone else's experience. So on the secondary research, was the information easy to find? Once I was given the link to a website, it was easy because it was well structured, it was easy to read, all the information was there. I mainly used that website. I then went to others to kind of fill in some gaps that weren't in the website. But having have had that first source from one of my lectures, it was easy to follow that up. And I also made sure that I had little library sessions on my own time to work on that as well. So that was pretty much done within the first few weeks. What would you have done differently? For my secondary research, I think I would have liked to have read more articles of like other people's firsthand experience, but without me being the one interviewing them. I feel like I lacked variety of sources in a sense for the project. Did you find out anything you were not previously aware of? Yeah, for session work, I wasn't aware that it was so last minute. So if you get replaced, or if someone else gets replaced and you get the call, it's the next day, you know. And you have to be very open-minded. Communication is key. If you take any assumptions, everything might just circle down the drain. How did researching other artists' websites help you develop your own? I looked at 5 and I referenced 2 on my project. Yeah. So the main 2 I looked at, the 2 that I put in there were the 2 main I looked at. They were the ones that I took the most inspiration out of, and I analyzed the content and what I should add on my own. And I looked at the color themes and if they match the photos and if mine should match the photos, what should be included in them. So I tried to find a balance, and that was a summary of what should be in my website by reading a load of different ones to take inspiration from. Overall, what went well and what could have gone better? With my secondary research, as I said earlier, I would have liked to have more interviews that other people had done from the same sort of point of view that I did with my lecture. And overall, the secondary research was relatively easy, but it was very informative, and I found a lot about what the industries, but not from experience, from facts, like how much is earned, is it a full-time job, what's the lifestyle like. So the product outcome, so that means the website, the personal statement, the biography, the follower gallery, and the testimonials. So I'm going to start with the personal statement. What would you rate the outcome of your personal statement out of 10? I think it went into enough detail for what the types of unis or jobs that I'd like to get. However, if I were given more time or more resources to develop this, I would have liked to include more my overall music experience. Like, I included enough, but I would have liked more time to have developed that more, if that makes sense. So maybe a 7 out of 10. So I think what I meant is, having have done this now, I won't have to do it in the future. So will it be useful for me in the future? Will I have saved myself some time in the future? And I think yes. I think a personal statement it's a good thing to have done already, and a good skill to have to be able to do that. So later on in life, when I have done more things and have followed my career more experiences, I will add to it. But it's easier because I already know what the process looks like. Are you content with the final results of the personal statement? As I said earlier, yeah. Out of 10, what would you rate the outcome of your biography? I personally think the biography went really well. I didn't really know how to go about it, so I got help from my parents and other tutors. I just developed it from there, as well as reading a bunch of different examples from the internet of other artists similar to me. And overall, I think it went really well. Did having a biography improve the standard of your artist website? So I have the website for the project and my own website. And I had a little About Me section that was based more on me teaching, me performing, and me as a person, instead of like my past and kind of how I got to where I am today and my qualifications. I think it made it sound more professional, the fact that it's in the third person and I'm not saying I am. Or out of 10, what would you rate the outcome of your photo gallery? I'm actually really impressed with how the photos turned out, having only had 15 minutes because of the way the room bookings work, and that room is mainly for lectures, and I think in 15 minutes we got some really good shots, and the qualities are amazing, and the person that took the photos is amazing. And because like her friends were there, it made the environment more fun. I wasn't as serious. There was photos of me smiling, photos of me focusing, eyes closed, eyes open. There was a lot of different shots, a lot of different lighting as well, but it all worked with the light purple color that was the theme of my website. I'd already made it before I put the new pictures in, and they kind of matched the last year's photos that I took on my phone because they're the same lights. from the same rooms, so it worked well together. But my image has changed a lot since last year, so I thought those photos needed updating because I don't look the same as I did last year. Did having a professional photo shoot make your website look more professional? 100%. It looks professional. It looks like a legitimate website of an artist, which I am, but the difference between the photos taken from my phone, which are decent, to this is huge impact on my website. I'm so glad that I did that. It came out really well, and I'm really happy about that. Out of 10, what would you rate the outcome of your testimonials? Probably, I only got 3 because I messaged a bunch of my lecturers and teachers and some students, and I only got 3 replies back. I am disappointed at the fact that some lecturers said that they would help me and ended up not helping me. There's not much I can do for the testimonials. I can ask a bunch of times and I can request from a bunch of people, but with the testimonials, there's not much I can do. So I would have liked the tutors to have replied to my emails with some testimonials. Joe Yoshida replied, one of my peers replied, and one of my personal music teachers replied, but I don't think it's enough. I genuinely was expecting at least 5. Overall, I think the project went really well. The outcome impressed me, actually. I generally find it very helpful for my career in the future. I think this has hugely helped my career, so I'm really glad that I took this project seriously.